Okay, so you asked me how I was doing, right?
Yeah, she's back. We've got Addie Pitre live. She is here to talk about undressing the self. It's not how you think. It's her self-love mastermind course, and yeah, tell us a little bit about what's going on. What's your passion behind this project?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my main passion behind this project is just helping other people to delve into the world of self expression and just to see how, based on what we've experienced in our lives, what memories we are carrying on with us, and if something happened that caused us to believe a specific thing about who we are or what we're capable of or how life is supposed to work, when we start to undress those
Yeah,
experiences and those memories and just what we perceive about ourselves, what we already think we know about ourselves, when we let all of that go, we uncover who we truly are and express ourselves from our essence,
for sure.
from our heart.
You know, in the first page of my book, I talk about the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves,
Yeah.
which is I don't think should ever be put on the back burner. But are you, with your consultations and people that you want to essentially empower, are you addressing what happened in their past, what's going on in their present, all of it? What's step one?
Yeah.
How does this work out?
Absolutely. So in my consultations, like for my one-on-one work, it's a little bit different than for this specific course or whatever it is that I'm running. So my courses tend to run for X amount of weeks at a certain time each year. I don't really have like a set schedule of when, I don't know when I'll be releasing Undressing the Self again. The last time I ran it was over a year ago, and all of a sudden, a few months ago, I just kept getting these like pings from the universe.
Yeah.
Like, people need to dive more fully into this work and need to learn how to be confident expressing who they are and sharing who they are with the world. Like, now more than ever, it's so important that we share our wisdom, that we share our gifts, that we share who we are. And we're caring less and less about fitting in and like what we sound like and what people are going to think of it, and that's really important. But so in this course specifically, we really dive into the story of who we are. Like, that is the very beginning, right? And there's a lot of forgiveness work that is woven into the very beginning of the program, because it's like we have to forgive these old stories, this old story of who we think we are and who we have been. Like, for example, I have always resonated or just kind of like pinned myself as being the shy girl or like an introvert. And as I moved to Colorado, like almost a little over 7 years ago, I just started to break that mold and got really big into aerial and performing. And honestly, like, even 10 years ago, telling me I would be on a stage, I would shit my pants.
Yeah,
Like, no
for
way,
sure.
fuck that. But now it's like, it's something that I love and it fulfills me and it inspires those who witness me, like,
Yeah.
dancing on stage on this crazy ribbon hanging from the ceiling. And
I've seen Addie perform aerial silks. It's beautiful.
Thanks.
Is that like a limiting belief that you once had 7 years ago that you tried and then you were like, wow, I'm really good at this. I like doing this. Or is it something that you always wanted to do, you never wanted to do? Like, how did you get started in that?
In aerial specifically?
And aerial,
And
but
performing?
also like you're undressing your own self. You're breaking free from your, again, limiting beliefs or
Totally.
your unconscious reprogramming or unconscious programming, right? Like
Yeah.
starting to break into growing up. It's
Yeah.
so yeah. How did that begin?
Yeah. So over the past 7 years, it was really like when I moved to Colorado, my world just was completely blown up. And for the first time, I realized I had the awareness. And that's the ultimate first piece. And so I started doing personal development courses, and Landmark was the first company that I worked with. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a pretty big personal development company. And the first time that I heard about Landmark, my partner was telling me like, oh, I've done this. I think it would be really good for you. And I took offense to it. I was like, you're telling me I need to work on myself?
Yeah.
Like, I was pissed.
I bet. We've probably all been there where it's like, wait, you're analyzing me?
Yeah.
You need some fucking work.
But that's not where he was coming
Yeah.
from at all. And so I ended up like going to an intro night or whatever. And I just knew, like, something within me, I just knew I had to do this. And that's kind of where I first started to dip my toes into the water of, like, becoming aware of those old stories and stepping into forgiveness work and realizing how I was filing my past into my future and letting that dictate how my life is going to be.
Yeah.
And it's just all a load of crap.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
yeah.
You know, it's, again, going back to my book, I'm promoting myself as well.
That's
but
right. You should
I think it first starts off with mindset, which is similar to awareness.
The willingness.
The willingness,
Yeah.
or the want to, the desire.
And absolutely.
And then it goes on to the courage to do this thing, right? Step out of your comfort zone or learn a new skill or whatnot. And then it goes to commitment. So it's mindset, courage, then commitment. And that's 100%. On all facets of everything. You want to go talk to this pretty girl. I know I can. I've talked to women before, right? You know, and it's like the courage. All right, she's gonna like my smile, right? And then committing to it, and then just walking, walking towards it. But yeah, that's really cool that you did that. We need people like you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, of course. So that brings me to when I start talking about a book.
Yeah.
What's a book that you recommend or that has inspired you to be your true self, or maybe your favorite book, something you read recently, whatever.
One book that's fresh on my mind that I shared recently with a client is the book The Big Leap. It's by Gay Hendricks, I believe, is the author. But it's just all about how we have this like energetic ceiling or this glass ceiling, and when we start to reach higher levels of abundance in our lives or greater harmony and connection in our relationships, and it is almost past the point of what we've always known, which is like what we're comfortable with, then we do something to self-sabotage, whether that's like a physical act or like us getting physically sick or a thought that comes in that like pulls us out of what can be or like how good life is, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really great resource for really helping us to begin to shatter our own perceived and like our own created ceilings and like boxes. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
It's a really cool book.
One of my favorite books is called The Slight Edge.
Oh, never heard of it.
I don't know who it's by. My favorite book, don't know the author. But I'm going to try and describe it in like 30 seconds. But time is the x-axis, right? Time can start right now. Maybe it started last year if you started a job or whatever. But the x-axis is time. It's inevitable. It's coming. But 95% of people are on the downward time curve, such as they're in a toxic relationship, they hate their job, they wake up in debt, and they're fearful. You know, like it's essentially just going down the time curve. Or the 5% of successful people and really, I guess, visionaries and all that, they tell themselves a story that actually inspires them to get better every single day. So there's two ways to go every single day. You can either go up the time curve or you can go down the time curve.
Yeah.
And, you know, going back to your Undressing the Self, is it one of those things where is it constant practice? Like you help them to believe in themselves day 1, day 2, day 3. How long is your course? How long would your one-on-one session be? Does that vary in price? And
it does. It definitely does. So with my my group coaching programs, I have several of them that I've created at this point. Most of them, I have 3 that I've created and have solo led, and 1 that I've created with 3 other amazing women and coaches that I have the pleasure of knowing and working with. But so this course specifically, Undressing the Self, is a 3-week experience. So we have an opening and closing ceremony. I really believe in like setting the space and like entering this journey essentially together. But then there are 7 modules over the course of 3 weeks where we really like dive into the content. And with Undressing the Self, I realized when I first created it that each of the 7 modules kind of pertain to each of the 7 chakras.
Uh-huh.
And so like it was really cool whenever I noticed that. I was like, oh my God, wait. So the first module, you know, is like all about forgiveness and like our root, our foundation, and like forgiving the self, forgiving other people in our lives and experiences that we have been through that like really formulated what we believe about ourselves or about how the world works, and beginning to clear that space and create a new way, like a new belief system, right? Like we actually get to decide what it is that we believe. We don't have to carry all this stuff with us, you know, like we formulate most of our belief system when we're 0 to 7 years old. We're basically a walking subconscious mind. And it's pretty wild how like when we experience something hard as a kid, like if our parents were fighting, or you know, for me, for example, I was a year old and my sister was born, and my little 1-year-old self is like, oh, they got another one.
Do you remember this?
Good enough. No, but I've done
Sure.
I've done some like subconscious work to get there, and just to see like what kind of facets of where this like not good enough came from. You know, like we all have this at like the bottom of like in our foundation somewhere. But you know, as we go through things in our lives, we make it mean something about us. So like my parents are fighting. Oh my gosh, this is my fault. 3 years old. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and you know, some of these examples that I'm giving, I realized them in a hypnotherapy session. So it was like super subconscious, but yeah, we travel up the chakra system. Essentially, we tap into feeling and like really what is under the surface. Right? And then like gently setting our voice free, like tapping into ourselves as the channel that we are, and you know, moving into the heart. How can we really like express ourselves from the heart? And like, yeah, I mean, it's a whole journey. It's fascinating.
I have a question that, I mean, I'm a male, you're a female, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fact.
We don't have, yeah. So I have the answer in my head to this question that I'm going to ask you, but what is the first step to forgiveness?
Willingness, in my opinion. We have to be ready and willing to forgive.
Interesting. So my male ego brain goes straight to it is what it is. Basically acceptance. So I've done a ton of work on acceptance, letting go.
Yeah.
Comes with forgiveness. My mom literally tells us that our biggest flaw, but our greatest asset, is the ability to forgive. Because we don't want to hold that shit in our heart. We don't want to hold it in our body. It's the stress, the tension, holding a grudge.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I
don't want to look at someone and be like, well, and essentially when you point the finger to someone and blame them for something, that is your problem. Like, naturally. So
playing the victim. Essentially.
So I guess someone that has no idea with our level of consciousness or awareness or all the work that we continue to do on a daily basis, like, yeah, what's the first step to forgiving? Like I want to, but they did me wrong.
Yeah.
You know, this is the reason why I feel this way, or I've been this way for 2 years. Yeah. So again, going back to the slight edge,
right?
You know, you've put 2 years of just animosity in yourself, and how does someone get rid of it? I just know that, hey, I'm going to accept it, and it is what it is. So what are the necessary steps that I can do to get back to my own wavelength, my own vibration? Yoga, running, meditation, creating, practice, learning. So yeah,
yeah, I mean, ultimately, the willingness has to come first. Like, if we're trying to, like, let something go and forgive something that we're actually still really mad about, it's not going to work, right? You have to have that willingness and that readiness to let it go. Because if really these experiences that, you know, we get to accept and let go of and forgive, they're taking up literal space in our being, in our energy fields. And another book that I really, really love and that has a lot to do with this topic is called The Emotion Code. And it's about this chiropractor who created this specific technique. He believes that emotions, like when we go through an experience and it's attached to a particular like bad feeling emotion, like whether that's shame or guilt or anger or resentment, you know, these heavier things that we're not always willing or ready to actually feel, because if we feel them, they move on, right? But if we're like, no, I'm like, you know, going to play the victim and I'm going to push this down, they get physically trapped inside the body and later manifest as disease, discomfort, like, you know, misalignment and all kinds of crazy things. And so he created this method of using muscle testing to pinpoint the trapped emotion that's ready to be released, and then releasing it with magnets. Magnet therapy, essentially. It's really, really cool.
That's crazy.
I can't remember his name at the moment, but the emotion code.
So I, you know, have my back roller, foam roller, and I've got this, you know, little, looks like a, what are those things called? Racquetball, where I get the knots out of my back and out of my shoulders and whatnot. Is that stored emotion?
It can be. I mean, I don't know that all pain or like, you know, discomfort we experience is, but a lot of it can be. And he created this technique because as a chiropractor, he had all of these patients. They would come back and have the same issues, even though he already adjusted them. They kept coming back. And so he realized after he successfully released these emotions within the patient, they wouldn't have that misalignment, that problem anymore.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out.
It's an easy read. Lots of like success stories, and just he goes through how he developed the process. Yeah, super cool.
So what is one thing that you suggest everybody do on a daily basis?
Something that just like totally lights you up.
Helps you out, yeah.
That just makes you like so freaking happy and joyful, whether it's dancing naked in your living room or meditating or yoga or like going to work out, walking outside, you know, it can be anything. But like
I haven't tried the dancing naked in my living room.
It's
yet.
the best. It's the best.
It sounds really relieving. Or empowering. It's like,
it's all
I don't know, I got a window that's right there. People can look in as they walk up. Yeah, that's
true.
That's true. That's awesome. The thing that makes me happy every single day, and I have to do it personally, is read 10 pages a day.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You know, 10 times, 365
Amazing.
is 3,650 pages a year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could gain a lot of insight. I can gain a lot of knowledge on that. So that's the one thing that really like actually empowers me.
I love that.
Or sometimes I wish I could do yoga every day, but
I
I literally just forget about it, which is stupid because I could be in my computer chair just
hunched over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's one of your biggest fears? Or do you... Well, actually, let me ask that again. What's one of your biggest fears, and how do you overcome it every time it comes back up? Because there are certain things that, I mean, every day I'm fearful of something.
Yeah, totally.
But how do you overcome that fear to get to the next level, to get back to your synchronicity? I don't even know if that's a word.
Yeah, it is definitely a
your
word.
Equilibrium.
Yeah, alignment.
Yeah, your alignment.
The first one that comes up is just this like fear of being seen, like of truly being seen and witnessed. Self-expression, and like hence why I created Undressing the Self. Self-expression is like one of the biggest things that I have overcome within myself. Like I can't begin to express how many times I in my head had something to say and was just like, no, it's okay. Like, what I have to say doesn't matter.
You filtered yourself?
Oh, yeah. Totally filtered myself. But the thing is, I didn't even know I was doing it until I started doing personal development and became aware of all the times I was stopping myself. And so I still notice it come up sometimes, especially with singing in particular. My entire life loved to sing, but would never share my voice with anyone and never thought my voice was good enough. And then 7 years ago, I moved to Colorado. We went to this blues festival in the Berkeley neighborhood, and I found myself harmonizing with the band for the first time in my life.
Wow.
And what I realized is that for the first time in my life, my voice sounded good to me. And so it's been this incredible journey of like setting that part of me free, and like it is the most vulnerable like part of myself.
Still.
Yeah, still.
You're much better than 7 years ago.
Much better. Yeah. And much more expressed, you know, and what I realized too is whenever I first started to sing, it would be like shaky and I would be really, really nervous, and you could hear that in my voice, and that's not really the case anymore. For me now, it's just like about doing it. and like sharing when I feel called to, regardless of, you know, what else is in the
It's kind of funny because maybe you've been asked this, but what's one superpower that you want to have? And I always say singing.
Yeah.
It's weird because I have a podcast and I listen to myself all the time, and I have no problem with my voice, but
yeah.
I wish I could sing like a Jason Derulo or something,
Oh.
or like a Hosier, which is polar opposites, but like, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, it sounds like you got it. It sounds like you could totally do it.
I feel you on that, where it's like nervousness.
Terrifying.
Yeah, especially, I mean, I sing in the car all the time.
Yeah.
And I am much louder than the actual stereo system's volume, but yeah, that's just me and my own world. But yeah, even this, both of us doing this vulnerability thing and getting online and hopefully being able to empower or help someone or inspire someone or whatnot, we still have those little fears that, and again, that's the whole point. We're just normal individuals that try to better ourselves every single day, and we know how to do that.
Yeah, totally.
So.
Yeah, and it's really just like saying yes every time, you know, you notice this thing come up and you notice yourself, you know, this like way to express yourself, and you notice the fear arise. And one thing that I've been doing since I became a life coach, because that was a really scary thing for me as well, especially going live on Facebook and Instagram and all the things. And I would just like second guess myself all the time. But then, you know, I started doing this practice where I would just be like, okay, what would my most courageous and successful and expressed self do right now? She would do the freaking thing. She wouldn't stop like procrastinating and pretending like she doesn't know what she's freaking talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, press the button, let's do this. Right?
Do you transform into a mini alter ego like Marshall Mathers and Eminem, or, you know, Clark Kent and Superman? Because some of the greatest people out there actually go into an alter ego, or it's like, in real life I'm just this humble, soft-spoken introvert, but I have a message. And, you know, whether it's rap or whatever it is, right? You flip the switch and you go at it. Personally, I do that.
Yeah?
I guess I don't know if... a lot of people know me, a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
But I'm a human being. I experience a lot of emotions and a lot of my strength. And, you know, I always tell people, like, I'm proud of you. And I'm looking at the camera. I'm not looking at myself. But the reason why I'm proud of you is because we all experience like the jealousy, the triumph, the fear, the everything, and we always get over it. So that in itself makes you a very empowered human, because maybe you're unconsciously coping with it. Maybe you're unconsciously doing these things, but you're actually persevering every time.
Totally.
You're getting yourself out of a funk. You're doing
resilience.
Resilience. Yeah, it's a perfect word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because I have that for myself and I believe it for myself, automatically believe it for you. Automatically believe it for you. So
it's incredible.
Yeah, it's really cool. I found that recently, probably like 2-3 months ago, and that's when I started recording. I felt like I needed to share something, and with this, I mean, every single week, every podcast I do, starting from scratch. Have no idea the outcome. Have no idea if it's going to be any good.
That's the fun part.
It is fun, but that's overcoming my fear.
Yeah.
And again, the open to everything is the personal accountability, where I want to do this. I'm going to keep doing it. Okay, Addie, come on over. Oh shit, I'm pacing back and forth. Maybe this is going to be horrible, but no, we're going to do the thing.
Yeah, and it's funny how our minds like almost immediately go to, oh, is this going to suck? Like, and we start to second guess our intuition that like brought this certain person to have this conversation with us in the first place, or whatever it is. It's like, it's pretty interesting.
Believe in yourself. You got this. What's your favorite quote? Do you have one? You can have 2, 3. I don't care.
What is my favorite quote? The only one I can think of is actually one that I wrote at the moment.
Awesome.
And it really pertains to self-expression and just, you know, us being who we truly are. And it's, when we choose to not express ourselves, we're abandoning a part of who we are. And I had never thought of it in that way, and that, you know, sentence popped into my head just a few months ago before the launch of this program, and I was just like, oh my god, it's so true. Like, that is literally a part of us that wants to be expressed, that wants to be shared with the world. And when we deny that part of ourselves, that gift of expression, I mean, it's insane what I've noticed within myself. Like, when I choose to not express myself and essentially abandon that part of who I am, the negative self-talk is like at an all-time high. I'm less likely to even want to share who I am and my gifts with the world. I like, become like lethargic and like, I'm good. Like,
well, and what I get from this, and what I can very much relate to, hopefully you guys can too, is the fact that this is a daily practice. This is a forever thing. Like, we're not preaching perfectionism. We're not preaching like, you know what I mean? But it is consistency.
Yeah.
And consistency over time. I mean, yours is 7 years. Mine's probably 10.
Great.
Few of those years have been very unconscious or like partying a lot or whatnot. But I've always been infatuated with learning and growing and releasing and being kind to other people and all this stuff. And I mean, you need that. It's all a practice forever. Hopefully, I don't become that grumpy 70 or 50-year-old guy, 60-year-old guy.
I think you'll be good.
Yeah, because I'm balding and because everything didn't work out, and now I'm 60 years old and I'm alone, and I can see it, but I'm gonna try everything in my power not to be that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Emily last week, I came up with this quote: "Move your body, free your mind." And
totally.
Going back to your self-expression thing, do you encourage what's your encouragement to expression? If that makes sense. Like, you encourage self-expression. What should people do to express themselves?
I mean, essentially, it's just like listening to that nudge that we have that arises within us. That's to, share that joke in a conversation, or to show up online and share this like big idea, or share it with someone that's really close to you, like whatever it is that is arising that wants to be shared. Or even if it's dedicating yourself to a singing practice, like that's what I'm working on, is like igniting this desire to play with my voice and like what comes through.
For sure.
But I think really it's just about listening to that nudge within ourselves, that like invitation to express who we are. Yeah.
Gotta be aware. Yeah. It goes back to the original awareness.
Awareness is everything.
What's your biggest inspiration in life right now? What keeps you going?
Biggest inspiration.
Or your number one mentor, or who makes you feel alive when you don't feel that way for yourself? I know, I'm stumping her.
No, I mean, there are many people that come to mind for sure. You're going to laugh at this one, but definitely my best friend, Emily Wilson, is like such an inspiration to me. I'm so inspired by her new project in Rhythm. I know it's going to be an incredibly successful company. She's bringing me on to do the social media as well, and so I just believe in this so deeply.
That's great.
But some mentors also, a few coaches that I've worked with in the past and that I know I will be working with in the future again. Aislinn Walton is freaking incredible and just so much about weaving magic into our lives. Melanie Ann Layer is also super inspirational to me. Like, she has grown her business exponentially. Like, she became a millionaire for the first time, I think, just 2 years ago, and now she's already had her like $2 million month. Like, it's just, she's just growing exponentially. Amanda Francis is another incredible woman who's just like, she calls herself the money queen, like has built a $10 million business at this point.
Wild.
So I definitely shared a lot of women. I mean, there are definitely men who inspire me as well. Yeah.
Good.
Those are some.
I kind of out of all my things, but
it's okay. I feel like that was good.
So, Undressing the Self, where can they find you? How can they follow you? How can they support your cause?
Yeah.
Hear
absolutely.
more of what you have to say.
Totally. So my Instagram right now is Addie Moonflower. ADDIE and then Moonflower. My website, addiepitre.com, is also a great place. I'm going to be adding just a page for all of my programs onto my website. They've been up until this point pretty like, okay, I'm launching them only, for a few weeks out of the year or whatever. But I'm thinking about reformulating my business to where maybe people can purchase my courses year round. We'll see. That's definitely like evolving. But as far as one-on-one coaching, that's something I'm always available for. And
she's amazing.
yeah, it's thank you.
Yeah, she's powerful. She's got very positive energy.
Thank you.
Every time I see her.
Thanks.
Yeah. One more question. What kind of moonflower are you? Or are there flowers on the moon? There is in her world.
So moonflowers are a specific flower that bloom with the full moon. They open with the moonlight.
Really?
Yeah. And the moon has been such an incredible mentor, if you will, for me. I've just always felt so incredibly connected to the moon and how just my feminine cycle aligns with the phases of the moon. And yeah, I like sing to the moon and she gives me guidance.
You're gonna laugh at me and Emily's thing because I asked her kind of about that, and I was like, I don't have to think about that at all because I'm not a female. When it comes to, she was like, say it with me, Eric, menstruation. I was like, menstruation. she got me, but yeah.
I love that. That's amazing.
It's really cool.
Yeah, moonflowers. You should look them up though. They're beautiful. They're like big trumpets.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You see, I learned something new today.
Yeah.
Well, Addie, thank you for coming on. Appreciate you guys. Go follow her.
Yeah.
And
thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning back in. Until next time.